This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
I'll be your love, I'll be your sunshine, I'll be your love, I'll be your sunshine, I'll be your love, I'll be your sunshine, I'll be your love, I'll be your love, I'll be your sunshine. You see the sea, I'll see the sunshine, I'll be your love, I'll be your sunshine, shine, shine. I'll be your
Following program is rated MA-LSV. It contains strong language, sexual situations, and violence. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Finally, show with the balls to call it like it is. Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Countdown to audio torture.
The Rated R Safety Show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Let the eardrum pain begin.
Forget the corporate bullshit. This is the Rated R Safety Show with your host, Dr. It doesn't matter who the host is.
Oh, you so know it, and so do I. It does not matter who the host is. What has always mattered is who the listeners are. Anyways, today is Wednesday, July the 16th of 2025, day 197th of the year, and only 168 days left to go. We are broadcasting from the Safety FM studios in Orlando, Florida, and coming across the multiverse known as Safety FM, and then hanging out with our friends and colleagues over there.
Radio Big. USA, Canada, UK.
Oh, yes, hanging out with our friends at RadioBig.fm, doing the thing, doing the bunch, you know, doing the rowdy stuff, because that's what we do over there, no doubt, as we are hanging and banging and taking a look around at what's going on inside of the world of the multiverse. So anyways, how's the last 24 hours been for you? Hopefully you've been having a good time as you've been hanging out, doing all the stuff that you get to rep, because, you know, that's a good time as we are doing everything here, a little bit of here, a little bit of there, you know, all that fun stuff. So as we are talking, our show consists of safety in the news and safety. That's the way it kind of goes as we are talking about everything that is going on inside of this thing that we call the multiverse. So as we are hanging out on this lovely Wednesday, don't worry, I'm going to take you through the ride. We do call it Whip 'em Out Wednesday, so don't worry about that. It's always a fun time as we are doing that stuff. Okay, so with that being said, safety, news, special events, all that stuff. We talk a little bit about everything that goes on here. So don't worry. If you want to interact with the show, it's a simple process. In doing so, all you have to do is go to callinradio.com. That's callinradio.com. That'll get everything moving and grooving for you as we are doing our thing and all that kind of fun stuff. So always a good time as we get to do some of this stuff. But don't worry, because the interaction part is call-in radio, video, audio, text messaging, and then it kind of gives me a little prompter on the screen. It's just kind of how it goes. So as those things occur, we kind of take a look around of everything that's going on, and then we move forward. So that is it. That is the summons of the ummons of what we do around here. So there you go. So I have to tell you, if you give me a moment, I'll tell you about what the hell was trending in the overnight, because that's always a good time.
Here is what was trending. Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, so as I take a look at the trends of the ends, notable and noteworthy, any update to Grok hopes to curve more off the rails of opinions. So there you go. We'll talk about that. Also, a suspect who swiped Beyonce's hard drives, IDs by investigators. And Jay Cutler shows off his recent kills. Not sure exactly what that means, but we can figure that out. Also, Stans heads to the theater, and the Chrisleys bring back their podcast. The details about that as we get into casting calls. And also, Prince Harry continues charity work in Africa. So we'll talk about all that kind of fun stuff. So I have to tell you, maybe I'll talk about it a little bit later because we should probably get into the news right away. But I went finally to go see the new Superman movie. I have some opinions. No shit. I always have some opinions about something. So we'll talk about some of that stuff. And then we'll take a lookser about all the fun stuff that is going on. So there you go. That's it. So if you're good, I'm good, and we'll get everything rolling right away about what the hell's going on inside of the world of the news. So let's get our friends from Feature Story News rolling here.
Here is the news on the Rated R Safety Show.
From Feature Story News in London, I'm Ollie Barrett. US President Donald Trump says Attorney General Pam Bondi should release whatever she thinks is credible about Jeffrey Epstein. There's been a backlash from some Trump supporters after the administration appeared to try and move focus away from the sex offender financier who died in prison in 2019. Air India will begin restoring its flight schedule starting in August. It comes after the airline reduced flights following the fatal crash in the Indian city of Ahmedabad in early June that killed 260 people. Kshitij Nagar reports from New Delhi.
As part of the resumption, the carrier will resume a thrice-weekly London Heathrow flight from Ahmedabad from the 1st of August, with plans to ramp up operations to 5 times a week later this year. The carrier said in a statement on Tuesday that it will also increase its services to London Heathrow, Tokyo, Zurich from Delhi and Ahmedabad. It will add more flights to Seoul from September as well. The airline plans to have its full schedule in place by October 1st, which it had reduced after the June 12 crash as part of a safety pause. A preliminary report filed by India's Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau last week had called into question the fuel switches in the cockpit of the Boeing 787 Dreamliner that were moved to a cut-off position, causing a lack of lift and leading to the crash within a minute after takeoff. The airline says it's cooperating with the investigation. Kshitij Nagar, New Delhi.
UK inflation's hit its highest rate since January 2024, according to new data. The headline rate reached 3.6% in the year to June, up from 3.4% in May and higher than expectations. Food prices surged for the third month running. But business commentator Declan Curry says the Bank of England could still cut interest rates in August.
The Bank of England has already said it expects inflation to go even higher, to almost 4% in the autumn before falling back. So many economists still expect that the bank will cut its official borrowing costs next month.
US President Donald Trump says he's reached a deal with Indonesia that will tariff its goods at 19%. Trump says he's agreed to lower tariffs he had threatened on goods entering the US from Indonesia in exchange for what he calls full access for American firms. Laura Westbrook reports.
Donald Trump said as part of the deal, Indonesia had agreed to buy $15 billion in US energy, $4.5 billion worth of agricultural products, and 50 Boeing jets. Indonesia counts the US as its second largest export market for goods ranging from apparel to palm oil, two sectors that are also responsible for millions of jobs in the country. The latest 19% tariff rate, while much lower than most peers in Asia, is still an increase from the 5% average US tariff on Indonesian goods in 2024, according to reports. Laura Westbrook, Hong Kong.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN. Former UK Defence Secretary Ben Wallace says he makes no apology for obtaining a court injunction on a major data breach when he was UK Defence Secretary. He says it was necessary to protect Afghans who supported British forces and might be left in danger by the leak. Thousands of people on the list have now been resettled in the UK, but reporting on the story was banned until Tuesday.
We applied for a 4-month normal injunction, not a super injunction. I took a decision at the time that my priority was to protect the lives and welfare of those Afghans who had, in some cases, made many sacrifices or indeed sacrificed parts of their family to protect British forces. Those were people potentially eligible under the ARAP scheme. And that if the reporting had happened quickly, it could have potentially allowed the Taliban to make moves on these individuals. And so we needed time and we needed space to find out, investigate where this list had gone, whether it had actually got to the Taliban, and whether we could get out many of those people. I put those people first, not my reputation, not the government, those people. Now, people can disagree with that. They can say, no, we should have. Newspapers should be able to write whatever they want straight away. But we did that. We did it on a 3-month, I think it was a 4-month. That is a question for my successors. I left on the 31st of August. The thing was converted into a super injunction on the 1st of September. And I don't know why a 4-month application became a 2-year thing.
To recap the top stories, US President Donald Trump says Attorney General Pam Bondi should release whatever she thinks is credible about Jeffrey Epstein. Indian carrier Air India will begin restoring its flight schedule starting in August. UK inflation's hit its highest rate since January 2024, according to new data. And US President Donald Trump says he's reached a deal with Indonesia that will tariff its goods at 19%. That's the latest feature story news. Ollie Barrett reporting.
This is News in 60 with Alan Edwards.
The United Nations has issued an urgent warning about the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Fuel shortages threaten to halt aid deliveries, risking the collapse of essential services.
Hospitals and water treatment facilities are on the brink of shutting down without immediate fuel supplies.
Australia's Prime Minister confronted China's president over a naval exercise disrupting air traffic. The February drill in the Tasman Sea forced commercial flights to reroute.
The Chinese flotilla operated in international waters.
The U.S. Supreme Court has approved dismantling the Department of Education. The ruling allows President Trump to lay off 1,400 agency workers without congressional consent.
Critics warn the decision could disrupt federal education funding and student protections.
The Trump administration has revoked bond hearings for immigrants entering through non-approved channels. Detentions could last months or years during removal proceedings.
The policy applies to recent arrivals.
Listening to the Rated R Safety Show.
I'm pretty sure that my computer has lost its mind when it comes to some of the stuff going on, it seems like. So yeah, interesting times as we are talking, because it's saying that it's connected, but it's not connected, which makes it even more interesting when it's all said and done. But hey, welcome to live radio when it's happening inside of the world. That is for sure. But hey, don't worry, I'm always ready to go in some things that are happening inside of here. So let's do this. Let's just continue talking about some of the stuff that's going on inside of the world of the multiverse, because why would you have it any other way? So with that being said, let's do this. I got some new stuff always, because why would I not talk about some of the stuff that is happening inside of the world. So with that being said, let's take it this way. I got some news. Let's see. What do we want to start with? Yeah, let's go over here. Another sad chapter on the ongoing fire saga. Maybe we should start off from there. Let's see. After another sad chapter of ongoing fire saga closed on Tuesday when the brand asset controversial festival sold on eBay for $245,300. Billy McFarland watched the bids come for a final hour of the auction live stream. Damn, this sucks, he said. In the final moments of the countdown, to make matters worse, eBay typically collects a chunk of the final sale, which in this case could be a low five figures. Yeah, low five figures for sharing the name of what is going on. Yeah, so no word yet on the lucky buyer. McFarland owes about $26 million in restitution to the customers and vendors who were, well, let's just kind of say what it was. They were screwed over by the total failure of Fyre Festival 1 that occurred back in the day, back in 2017. So I don't know. I mean, why would you even stick with this brand name when it's all said and done? It kind of gets weird. Think about it for a moment. If you had a brand that was known as a brand that did not do well, why would you want to be associated with it? And let me kind of just give an example here. Do you remember back in the olden days? You have to kind of be older for this one, so bear with me as I say it. Of something called the Chevy Nova. Yeah, the Chevy Nova was a car that was released that didn't sell too well. And the reason that it didn't sell too well is in the Hispanic section of the world, or the Spanish-speaking section of the world, Nova, even though it's kind of a cutesy-ootsy thing when you're looking at it elsewhere, Nova normally means does not go. Nova is what it means. So with that being said, it gets weird, because if you had a Chevy Nova, guess what was going on? Meant that it was not going to move. It was not going to go. So it became a cluster for people. So I don't know on how to look at some of that stuff. Does not go. Anyways, let's continue talking. The team managing the X chatbot at Grok says that they've updated its back end so it stops spouting off praise for Hitler and looking first through Elon Musk's feed for how to shape his opinions. In a post on X, the team said that bot's reasoning knew that it was called Grok, made by XAI. So it first searched through XAI's and Musk feeds to align itself with the company's Musk replies that are all chock full of all kinds of nonsense, leading to its bizarre, controversial comments last week. We are actively monitoring and will implement further adjustments as needed. Further adjustments as needed. So are you telling me that the chat box took a mind of its own? Because that's what it's starting to sound like. Think about that for a moment. So the chat box lost the osteate when it was all said and done. What do you think here? What do you think was the cause of this? I mean, I know nothing about computers, at least nothing worth probably sharing. So how do you look at it? Because if you had a chat box lose its mind, what are you going to do? Like, would you say, okay, forget it, forgot it type of thing, or would you start off from scratch? Because that is going to be, of course, the court of public opinion of, well, if it lost its mind, it lost its mind for a reason. It didn't lose it because something else was going on, right? I don't know. I always kind of get all weirded out about some of this stuff because I don't understand technology till its fullest. I mean, I attempt to understand technology, but I never really truly understand what's going on when it's all said and done. So maybe that's more of the question opposed to anything else. So what do you think here? Would you give it any other thought, or would you look at it and go, a contraire, mon frere? I don't know. It's always a good time when we start talking. Anyways, what else do we have here? The chair of the Maori Conservation Association in Ireland says that the message in a bottle launched over a decade ago from Newfoundland, Canada, washed ashore across the Atlantic last week. The note dated back to September the 14th of 2012. September the 14th of 2012. With a simple message, Anita plus Brad's day trip to Pearl Island. Today we enjoyed dinner, this bottle of wine, and each other on the edge of the island. If you find this, please call us. Concluded with their phone number. That very bottle has been found, and turns out that Anita and Brad are now married with 3 kids. When they sealed the bottle, they had been dating long distance for about a year. This is according to NBC News. So what do you think? Always an interesting time. It really is when you start thinking about it. Because, love is a weird thing. You never know what the hell's going to happen, right? You kind of look at it and go, oh, what a friend, what a time, all that fun stuff. It just gets weird sometimes. By the way, my board has totally lost its mind over here. Just in case if you're on the screen arena and you see me looking down, I'm trying to figure out what's going on as we're talking in real time here. So the boardy ordy has lost its mind. But this is what I like about real time radio. Because you don't know what the hell's going to happen, and you just kind of go with it. You kind of go with it in real time-o. Okay, so with that being said, let's continue going into some controversy, because controversy also always creates cash, is the way that I take a look at some of this stuff. So let me see on how we're going to do some of this, because this is where it's going to get interesting for us to be able to do some call-outs. So don't worry. Let's do this real quick.
This isn't a safety manual. It's a transmission. Jay Allen, PhD, host of the Rated R Safety Show and founder of Safety FM, has spent years pulling back the curtain on the systems we work in and the ones we don't talk about. What started as a fatal crash on the 405 became a search for truth. Through behavior-based safety, human and organizational performance, simulation theory, and everything in between. Safety, in my opinion, is raw, reflective, and real. From burnout to breakthroughs, from the matrix to the moment someone says, "This doesn't feel right." This book doesn't give you answers. It hands you the signal. Safety, in my opinion. Available now, wherever books and audiobooks are found.
Okay, so there you go. Some information for you as we are hanging and talking and all that kind of fun stuff. So I don't know what's going on, because it's kind of interesting as we see it on our end over here. But that's good, because, I can still move and groove and all that kind of fun stuff. So I guess I just lost all sound effects. I think we're going to be okay when it's all said and done. The only thing that we're going to run into an issue with, just so you know, information-wise, is that you can hear it over there, but you can't hear it over here. It's very weird. I always love when things go in motion like that, because you never know what you're going to be able to do. But it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Because always a fun time. Okay. So with that being said, let's continue talking. I'm going to do this, which is totally out of the ordinary of sequencing in regards of stuff. Let's do a drop. And I'm going to bring in some Alan Edwards for a moment here. And let's go into this. Like, seriously.
An Indian astronaut has returned to Earth after a mission aboard the International Space Station. Joseph Eckerson with the latest.
Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla and his Axiom Mission 4 crew undocked from the ISS on Monday. Their SpaceX Dragon spacecraft began its journey back at 4:45 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Crew is expected to splash down off the California coast on Tuesday. The mission marks a significant step for India's space program.
Monsoon floods have caused widespread devastation in Himachal Pradesh. Pradesh, India, displacing thousands of residents.
Authorities reported significant damage to infrastructure and homes due to heavy rainfall. Rescue operations are underway to assist affected communities. The government has deployed emergency teams to provide aid and restore access to roads. Local officials are monitoring the situation as more rain is forecast. Chris Anderson reporting.
Gaza ceasefire negotiations have stalled with no progress reported on Monday.
President Donald Trump announced increased tariffs on the European Union and Mexico, impacting global trade talks. Diplomatic efforts continue to address the conflict in the region. The tariffs aim to address trade imbalances, but have raised concerns among international partners. Mediators are scheduled to reconvene next week to discuss potential resolutions. Benjamin Wright reporting.
This is the latest news headlines.
Flash floods in central Texas have claimed at least 132 lives, with recovery efforts resuming on Monday.
Over 160 people remain missing following the catastrophic July 4th floods. Search operations were briefly halted due to new flood warnings but have now restarted. A Minnesota K-9 unit is assisting with the recovery efforts in Kerr County. The death toll may rise as teams continue their work. Lawrence Keller reporting.
The fatal shooting occurred at a Kentucky church on Monday, prompting a police investigation.
The incident has raised concerns about safety in places of worship. Authorities have not released the victim's identity or details about the suspect. Community leaders are calling for increased security measures at religious sites. The investigation is ongoing, with police expected to provide updates later today. Kyle Norris reporting.
A Minnesota K-9 unit has been deployed to assist with flood recovery efforts in Texas.
Governor Tim Walz authorized the deployment of Minnesota Task Force 1 to aid in search and rescue operations. The team specializes in urban search and rescue, including structural collapse and wide area searches. Their work focuses on locating missing individuals in Kerr County. The unit's advanced skills are expected to support Texas authorities significantly. Kevin Sanders reporting.
And that's the latest news headlines with Alan Edwards.
The Motivation Minute, courtesy of GenesisGoldIRA.com and JaceCaseMedical.com.
The Motivation Minute.
Today's quote was submitted by Larry. Jonathan Winters said, "If your ship doesn't come in, swim out to it." I love that. I never met Jonathan Winters, but I knew his body double. My friend Jack Hansen loved to tell the story of his chance to work with Jonathan Winters. He was hilarious, and he would often play multiple characters in his own comedy films. But Jonathan also loved to improvise his lines. That made it really difficult to record the back and forth with, himself. My friend Jack said the whole crew would often break out laughing, and that would also ruin each take. They'd have to remember what he changed the lines to when they were doing the other scenes. Sounded like chaos, but it was also a ton of fun.
The Motivation Minute.
The Motivation Minute, courtesy of GenesisGoldIRA.com and JaceCaseMedical.com. I'm John Small. Thanks for listening. Your favorite motivational quotes can be submitted for upcoming programs at motivationminute.org.
Hello, I'm Richard Exley with your 1-minute devotion. Without Christ, we are all faceless people, lacking distinction and detail. But when we turn to Him, He covers the canvas of our lives with the bright colors and intricate details of abundant life. He touches our mistakes, even our sins, with His grace, and they become part of the finished product, a portrait of love. Psalm 51 says, "Wash away all mine iniquity, and cleanse me from my sin. Create in me a pure heart, O God, and renew a steadfast spirit within me." Lord Jesus, fill the flat emptiness of my life with the colors and details of your choosing. Let the finished me be more yours than mine. Amen. If these devotions are a blessing and an encouragement to you, you can subscribe at oneminutedevotion.com.
Okay, so let me tell you. Here's what we're going to have to do. I'm going to have to dump out because I can't get the board to move and go through the whole process. It's just kind of the way that it is. So, with that being said, I appreciate you hanging out with me this morning, and hopefully you got some news stories coming your general way. Welcome to live radio. If it happens this way, guess what's going to happen next? Who the hell knows? So, there you go. Maybe we'll do a split video. I don't know what's going on. I can tell you this, though. At the top of the hour, I'll come back and we'll do all the stuff that we didn't get to because that's kind of how we hang and do our stuff on this lovely Whip 'em Out Wednesday. Don't know what to tell you. I can't even give you a disclaimer for the end because that's just kind of the way that everything has occurred today. What a fun time to be alive. Always a good time as we are doing our thing. No doubt about that. Anyways, see you soon. Like seriously, I hope I get to see you soon. Because I'm not even sure what the heck has happened today with all that great information with everything going on. I guess adapt to the work, just the way that it goes. Ciao.
In safety, in my opinion, you woke up. You saw the system, the simulation, the structure that trained you to mistake compliance for care. Safety mutation. Information misdirection picks up where the signal fractured. Because the system didn't shut you down, it rebranded you. It packaged your voice, sold your rebellion as a new initiative, and smiled while doing it. This isn't a manual. It's a decoded transmission about what happens when slogans replace stories, when safety becomes marketing, and when truth gets mirrored so perfectly, you forget it was ever yours. You'll see the mutation. Learning teams turned into theater, zero harm turned into optics, and feedback turned into formatting. But the signal didn't die. It was redirected. Safety Mutation is Book 2 of the Signal Transmission Trilogy. Available now in print, Kindle, and audiobook. Narrated by the author J. Allen, Ph.D. Because the system adapted. Now it's your move.